Welcome, I'm Rogers Anderson, Mayor here in Williamson County. As we travel around our wonderful county, we have the opportunity today to have a discussion with Eddie Hood. Many of you know Eddie, the road superintendent. Some people call him Highway Commission, and I think about every name in the world. But welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Glad to be here.
Eddie's been around. Tell me a little bit about Eddie Hood and your family. The Hood family goes back a long way here in Williamson County. And tell us a little bit about old Eddie Hood and where you came from and how'd you wind up over at the Highway Department and now in the top spot of supervising 75 people and all the unincorporated roads in the county.
We got a big operation, but a little bit about myself. I was born in Williamson County. Been here all my life, and my parents been here all their lives, and my dad was in construction business, ran a bulldozer for 55 years. And he retired at age 70. And of course, that's a while on a dozer. But he retired, and I went to work for the Highway Department in 1981. July the 13th, Mr. McCatcher was the superintendent back at that time. He the one that hired me.
I think let me interrupt you here, Eddie. It's interesting. A lot of the people that are from here understand and understood who McCatcher was, but a lot of the new folks, all of the road around this city of Franklin is named after McCatcher.
That's exactly right, and he was a road superintendent for around 8 years, and when he resigned, he had some sickness, and he passed on not long after that. Mac was a great fellow, just a good man, and
big old man,
big man, and he was a good fellow. Man, that's just all I can say about Mr. Mac. But he's the one that hired me in 1981, and then in 2003, Mr. Charles Meat came aboard as road superintendent. Whenever Mac stepped down, and he was road superintendent until 2003, and that's whenever I was appointed as highway superintendent. Back early, whenever I started with the county in '81, I drove a dump truck from '81 to '84. Then in 1984, J.B. Ingram was the dispatcher. He retired, and I stepped in that position and held that position till 1997. And when Mr. Meat needed some more help on the outside, he appointed me as assistant superintendent of operations. And from 1997 to '03, that's the position I held. In '03, I was appointed road superintendent, and it'll be 12 years next month.
I remember it well. And you've done a great job, and you've got a great crew out there, Eddie.
I think we got the best crew in the county, of course. Second to none, in my opinion, of that.
Well, you've got a lot of, we have one female.
We do.
And the rest males. And a lot of those guys have been out there 20 and 25 and 30. And I know there's one 40 and plus.
He works up at the rock crew.
Yeah.
Great guy, great gentleman.
And you touch on something. A lot of people don't realize that when we talk about the highway department, now we've got 95 counties across the state. And there's not 95 variations, but you've got appointed superintendents, road commissioner, road superintendent, and you've got elected, and this county goes with the appointed, which I think has served us well over the many years that we've done it this way. We have 4 road commissioners, each one of them kind of like looking at a spoke on a wheel, north, east, south, and west. Each one of them represent a district, and they inspect those roads. When you guys finish, they drive in those areas. So if you're interested in what district you live in, you can certainly find that out by calling your office, going to the county website, and finding that out. And these men, oftentimes, the work you do is because people call in and report a pothole or a road's had a repair. With as many roads miles that you have to oversee, you can't get around to them every day.
No, you can't. Like I said, the public is good about informing us if a pothole needs to be patched or they have a ditch stop in front of the house. And that's a lot what we do this time of year is patchwork on our roadways as well as cleaning out ditches, because in the fall, whenever the leaves start falling, they end up in a ditch, and that can create a a drainage issue on if you have a cross pipe or something, it can stop it up and shoot it across the road.
How many road miles do we have in the unincorporated area of Williamson County?
We have 727 miles now. That has increased around 6 miles since last year, and that's a lot, all due to subdivisions. But in January now, the county commission approved our road list. It was 727 miles of roadway we maintain.
And people watching this show need to understand the highway department does not build the roads inside the subdivisions.
No, we don't. That's done by a contractor. Then after the contract is completed, we managers and myself will ride out, and that's when we incorporate into the highway department.
And they have to build them to the road standards that are on record. We post a bond, or they post a bond. And so when a subdivision comes in the unincorporated area, that road is built to the road standards, inspected all along the way, and once they're completed, then it's inspected again, and eventually we put it into our road list.
Correct.
To be taken over by the county highway department. A little known fact that a lot of people may not realize is the county road, unincorporated. I keep using that word, unincorporated, because you have no jurisdiction, nor can you or are you allowed to work inside the city limits.
We cannot. We have interlocal agreements with 3 of our cities in this county, and that's Fairview, Nolensville, and Thompson Station. We can do their work, but they reimburse us for whatever we charge them, and that's the way the law works. You know, they pay us for what work we do inside their jurisdiction.
This time of year, here we are, we're kind of closing in on winter. I'd just as soon it go ahead and be spring. I'm ready for it, but regardless.
Me too.
And you've got an ample supply of salt. Hopefully we won't have to use it all up this year. That'd be the greatest news in the world. But oftentimes we hear schools that are called off, and folks maybe in Franklin and Brentwood do not realize that some of our rural roads and schools are all over this county.
Right.
And those roads are still pretty icy. You've got the men out there in the trucks, they're salting it, they're scraping it. It's a full-time job during the winter months.
It is, and you know, they're talking about an event, you know, maybe Sunday night around, they said Sunday night around 9, but we got 2 bins behind our offices, and we can hold over 3,000 tons of salt. And we use that salt, you know, whenever we need to use it, but like you said earlier, I hope we don't use no more this year, but I don't think that's going to be the case whether people are talking for Sunday night.
Well, and you're talking Sunday night. This show's been taped, and of course, it'll actually air probably after your comment.
Right.
So, time it comes on, we'll know if we're right, if you're right or wrong on your forecast as a meteorologist here in Williamson County.
That's true, but I hope I'm wrong, to be honest with you. But no, we maintain. You know, we go over. We do them other 3 cities. Their roads also. They pay us back for what we do, but we'll get out, you know, need be, and we'll salt them and treat them. And it's like you said earlier, a lot of road in this county is real rural, and you know, you may be smooth around the city part, but you get back out 5 miles from here, and you can run in some pretty good road, some hilly roadways, and that's pretty. You know, school buses travel all these roads, so we want to make sure they can get over them safe.
If my math is right, and you've got over 700 miles of roads to incorporate, and the school system has about 250, if I remember correctly, and I may be off 25 or 30 buses that they run every single day all over these roads, both inside our municipal league roads and on our county roads. So oftentimes when their spotters are out there, they're looking at Pull-Tide Hill Road, they're looking at back to some of those back roads on the other side of Leapers Fork and Hillsboro back towards Fairview, and oftentimes it just doesn't get any sunlight for 2 or 3 days back in those areas.
That's exactly right. You got them tree canopies that cover the road, and I mean, they're
beautiful, but they're
snow don't melt too quick on them.
Eddie, let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned a minute ago, rock quarry. A lot of people may not realize, too, we still quarry an awful lot of rock. We still use a lot of rock. People, explain how that process works. And if you live in the Franklin area, about once a day or so, you'll hear a blast. It may be coming from our quarry. It may be coming from another quarry that's nearby. But we still use a great deal of rock.
We do, and that crusher saves the county taxpayer between $800,000 and $1 million a year on our rock, because we can crush them a whole lot cheaper than we can buy them. And we use rock. If we're going to pave a road and we need to prepare it, we may have to dig up some spots, and we use crush run, put back in it. And it's convenient. We got it right there behind us. We can go get a load and take back out as needed. And also, the landfill uses them, the Parks and Rec uses them. And we're charging so much a ton for the rock, but that's a win-win situation for Williamson County as a whole. Saves them a lot of money in a year.
How many acres do you know that we have out at the Highway Department about?
50 plus acres. Cause where we're at now was 15 acres years ago. We bought back in '07. And I think we had around 30 to 35 acres prior to that. So it's going to be around 50 plus acres what we should have.
And the rock availability out there, any long-term forecast, enough out there to last us for
many, many more years. I mean, we've been in this mining quarry where we're at now since probably around 95, 6, somewhere along that area, but we got a long way to go down, so we have plenty of rock back there.
Great transition. Just recently, in the last several months, you guys have finished up a project over in the 8th and 9th District, over around Moran Road, the historical Old Natchez. Had been a controversial road for 15 to 20 years. We kind of set the stage, and then I'll let you describe the processes you went through. One of the oldest roads that we have got in the county. Some people have said it is the oldest road. I've never verified that, but it's in the top 1, 2, or 3.
It is, right.
It was an old Indian trail. It was challenging in that oftentimes the old country roads that are 150, 200 years old were cow paths. They were always around rivers, this particular one, the Harpeth, so people could walk and live along the Harpeth, had plenty of water, because even though the Harpeth gets pretty low in the summer months, I don't know that it's ever completely dry. It'll get down there that you couldn't float a boat in it, but you could certainly get drinking water. And so you think about our early ancestors, and certainly the American Indian population that was here long before this was really a civilized country. So we've got Indian burial grounds out in that area around a river that's it's on the historical river list, and we had a road that was about 15, 16 feet in some spots, opened up to 18 to 20 feet in another spot, and over a period of time and wear and tear, you had potholes in there that you and I could fit in sometimes, and we'd fill them, and you'd fill them, and then they'd, over a period of rain and wear and tear, they'd just pop out again, and we couldn't pave it because of you had to protect the tree canopy and the rock walls because of some standards. So we, about 2 years ago, said, something's got to give. We've got to do something. And we've tried everything in the world. You'd patched it, you'd maintained it, but even a good patch job for about 10 years, you have different elevations of patch material. Right. So about 2 years ago, you and some leaders up in that area, and myself, and dealing with our engineer, Collier engineer, sat down and said, what can we do? Take me from there.
Well, that's exactly right. It started about 2 years ago on Old Natchez Trace, and we sat down with Collier, yourself, and myself, and kind of what could we do to Old Natchez Trace. Of course, Old Natchez Trace runs from Old Hillsborough Road to Sneed Road, and it's 4.2 miles in length. And it was rough. It's really from one end to the other. Like you said, we have patched it and repatched before, but it needed some attention. So we sat down with Collier, and they kind of come up with bringing another third party in, Hawkins Partners, which specialize in historical preservation. That's kind of what they do, is old road or buildings or whatever. So we sat down with them and kind of come up with a plan that we could work with. Collier and Hawkins had a meeting with the landowners out on Old Natchez Trace 2 or 3 times, and they had ideas, and they put ideas with what they had, and we all kind of come up with a solution what we could do to Old Natchez Trace. And it was so rough, we thought it would be best interest of the county to reclaim what was already out on Old Natchez. Because if we had to come out there and fire it up and rebase it, it would have took probably a couple of months to do this because it's so long. But we bid this out, and it's a reclamation process. And what that does, they send a machine out, and it grinds the asphalt up, and it mixes in 6% cement in with it. They grade it, roll it back down, and we went and looked at the job in Shelbyville, Bedford County, and I was impressed with it. And some of you counties that have used that have been impressed with it because I have talked to them about that. Well, that's what they use. And Blunt Contractor, they was out of Georgia, I believe, that done the reclamation. They was in that in 7 days. They went from one end to the other. Reclaimed, and we came in and put a binder on it, and after we put the binder, Old Natchez, we kind of went out of our box, what we did to Old Natchez. We built a bridge on Old Natchez, and we had to build a retaining wall because this section road was kind of narrow. And we built this retaining wall, and we ended up, the landowner and Collier and Hawkins and myself, they come up with using wooden guardrails out. That's the first time we have ever used a wooden guardrail. And on the bridge decks, we've used oak timber to kind of give you that old, like you're going across a wooden bridge sound. And on the rock walls, the retaining wall we built, we putting rock on them, a rock face on each side of them, and a cap around where the wood on the decks of the bridge stops. And that's something we never have done. We landscaped it, and it would average now around 18 feet in width. And we put a shoulder line on the road here last Thursday, I believe it was, but it was a challenge, but everybody, by sitting down and talking, everybody worked things out, and we're comfortable with it as well as the people that live out there. They're comfortable with it.
I think it's a tip of the hat, not only to you and your leadership, but bringing in some people to get some outside, what I call eyes and ears on a project, because it's County Highway Department, as good as we do things, and as well, I think we got some of the best roads in the entire state. They're well maintained. You've got money in which to operate and do the job and pay the men for what they do. But when you get outside that traditional box, it took some little faith that we could do it. It took a little faith in us. It took a little faith in the citizens, and to those many citizens that were involved in giving input. And we met in people's homes and listening to their concerns. And basically their concerns were it was a historical road.
Right.
Want to preserve the area, the tree canopy. We had to take out a few trees, but instead of us taking them out and them finding out about it, we labeled those trees. We told them how many trees we were going to take out, and with just a few minor exceptions, we were able to pretty much outline the way that it is, the way that it is now. And we encourage you to go out and drive on this road. It's a gorgeous road. And when you cross over those old wooden bridges there, you do sound like it's a throwback in time, because I've been out there several times, and you hear the rickety-rack, rickety-rack. And it's not very far, but we've got, 3 of those bridges laid out there. And you can really see the detail of the work that was done. And by and large, the people out there are very satisfied with the protection of the road and the finished product that was there. And that's a good thing. Now, it's often been said it saved us money. It didn't save us money. What it did do is preserve a road, because it cost us more money to go through some of these steps in the engineering than it would have been if you'd just gone out there and had to dig a road up and do all the transportation. So at the end of the day, we got a great finished product, and the citizens should have a good road. And you couple it with what was done up on Moran Road a couple of years ago, which again was a challenging road, and it took a little bit of work to get that one into the format that it is today. But those citizens and those residents are very pleased with that whole area network of roads. And I think we'll see more, maybe not like this project, but there'll be other things that give us confidence, give you confidence that we can do these kind of projects, and we know they're coming.
It's just a matter of when.
It's just a matter of when. You take that and we've just recently opened up a brand new Parks and Recreation 75-acre walking trail. It's got a, it's called Timberland. If you went out Highway 96, new Highway 96 from Franklin, right before you get to the Natchez Trace bridge, you turn left, go up on the trace, turn left again, go about 100, 150 yards, and there's a brand new park there. Just opened up in the fall of 2014 in November. But that was a project that was close to 15 years in the making. The land goes back to Nancy Conway and Judy Hayes, and some of us that were involved to be able to purchase land for the Natchez Trace when they were selling off some land, excuse me. And fast forward to about 2005?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. We need to have a road that go from the Natchez Trace to back to where the park was going to begin.
That's exactly right.
And so dealing with the National Park Service taught us real quick, we had to come up with Plan B. And I remember calling upon you and said, Eddie, we need a little help. And you said, we've never done anything like that.
That's true. I mean, like I say, it was the federal government, that's who we dealt with. And we had Collier involved in it again, and it was challenging. They don't work like the state or the county works. They had their own rules, and that's fine, but the foreman on that job was Wayne Tidwell. Great guy, and he was out there on a daily basis. He'd come to our office before, and we built the road from old Natchez, the Natchez Trace, to the Timberland Park, and just stubbed it off back when they were constructed back in 04 or 05, that time frame. But turned out well, and it's a good road. We had got grass on the slopes, and it looks nice out there.
Well, and I think to you it's a road. It's just another road. But the interesting thing to me is when we had the superintendent of the Natchez Trace at that time to come up and look at it and inspect it, and they had the ribbon cutting. They were so pleased, and I don't know since that time, and that's been a few years since we put the road in, until we get to the point of actually open. We had to build a building back there in the trails. And by the way, it's open to the public, same hours as the Natchez Trace. But I remember his remark to me was that the federal government had never, on the Trace property, worked with a local highway department before.
Well, that was the first time that they worked with us, and we worked with them, and like I say, it was a challenge, but at the end of the day, they got a good product out.
They got a good product, and he told me they would do another one tomorrow with us at any time, because you've got good men, you've got good equipment, and we use Collier Engineer, who has been a wonderful mainstay for us for many, many years. We get good advice. The finished product was well enough for the federal government to say, and we save money.
That's true.
Significant amount of money, as opposed to bidding that project out through the federal government. So it was a win-win.
Right. And like I said, Timberland Park opened up last fall, and I invite people to go out there. It's a nice park at the end of the road, and it's something people need to go see.
Eddie, we got about 4 minutes left in our show, 4 or 5 minutes left in our show, and I'm sure I've overlooked something that you'd like to lay out. I know we have a lot of 700 miles worth of roads, and always trying to play catch up. Right now, the price of oil is pretty reasonable, so therefore asphalt's got a different cost basis to it. But talk to us a little bit about something I might have overlooked, and the importance of our highway department to our overall well-being here in Williamson County.
Go back to asphalt on paving a roadway. If we was to pave a roadway with hot mix, it will cost us around $100,000 a mile to pave with hot mix. And that's with a smooth surface. That's what's on majority of our roadway. We have some roadway that's oil and chip. And what is oil and chip? You need to let them know. That consists, we'll go in and shoot RS2 down, which is the oil, then we put a layer of chips on it, and then we come back and put another layer of oil and chips, and the third, shoot it 3 times. And that's and it's a good roadway. All of our roads, that'll last, depending on the amount of traffic, 15 to 18 years as well as hot mix well. We try to pave around 32 to 35 miles of road per year, and we got a $2.2 million budget for asphalt. And by doing that, it would take us around 18 to 20 years to pave every road in this whole county. And that's kind of what we got our time, what our frame is set up on right now, what we try to do. But you know, oil and chip is nothing wrong with that, but it's more like a gravel versus hot mix. It's not as smooth as hot mix, but as far as durability, it's tough. It'll stay there with you.
Well, and you couple the number, as you said earlier in the broadcast, you've put on about 7 more miles this year just in new subdivision roads.
We have.
And those roads should last a length of time, whatever that time is, I mean, depending on the kind of material and the depth and things like that. But if we're continuing to add these roads onto our system, and we've added several over the last 10 years, and they become part of our valuation of the product that we have here in Tennessee, just like this building, your building, roads, that's a value that adds back into county government. It is imperative that we keep the county highway department up and running and the good equipment, because the people, you may not have children in school anymore. And the majority of our taxes that we have in the unincorporated area go for public schools, about 60, 65, 62% of them. Then you've got the court system. Well, if you're, you know, for the most part, not many people go to court. The majority of people don't ever make it to court.
Right.
Now, they may make it in the latter stages of their life through probate, but otherwise, a speeding ticket here and there, you can write the check and send it in. Most people don't go to court. Everybody uses those roads.
They do. They travel every day, and like you said earlier, I think we got some of the best roadways in the state of Tennessee. But we are fortunate in this county because this is the fastest growing county in the state, and and we got a lot of people out there, and they need a good roadway to travel. So that's what we try to do to them.
Well, 30 seconds. Thank you for what you do, and thank you to all the men and Elaine out there that work. Thanks to our road commissioners to give their time and service out there. Eddie Hood's our road superintendent, over 700 plus miles and on a day-by-day basis, keeping them paved, and all the good work that you do and get the work through the men. And so we want to say thank you, and thank you for the great work that the Old Natchez it turned out to be, and to Collier, and to the many men that put that in to make it, because it's different, but it's good.
It is.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Have a good day. This is Rogers Anderson. We'll see you around with another interview here in a few days.